The First Descendant released a little over a month ago, and I gotta say, I have two big reasons to keep playing this game. As you can probably guess, the first one is the loot, and the second one is I'm simply just a slave to this genre. I can't get away from these games. I've got over 2,500 hours between Destiny 2 and Warframe, so I'm no stranger to this genre. However, I do have one big problem with the First Descendant. It all boils down to this game feels way too generic and too samey. When I first picked up Destiny as a kid, I remember playing it and just thinking, wow, I want to get to know what's going on in this universe. I was hooked from the moment I picked the controller up.
Guardian? Eyes up, Guardian.
You don't know how long I've been looking for you.
In Warframe, I remember seeing an ad that got me hooked on the game before I even played it, talking about, oh, you can be a space ninja. And the common ground in both of these games is that they had this unique, intriguing world that made me want to explore, made me want to play the game and experience their story. However, the First Descendant just doesn't do that for me. This game is so generic. Everything about it, from the villains to their names, to the ads that you fight, the places you go to. I mean, look at this. I'm gonna show you 3 different zones, and you tell me if you can spot the difference other than the color palette. We have Desert number 1, Desert number 2, and Desert number 3. These are 3 different zones throughout the game. I think the coolest zone for me was the swamp. Why? Because it was the most different. And when most of your zones have that samey kind of feel, it doesn't help the story. The story was such a slog. I had to force myself to finish that story. I was about to uninstall the game because it was that boring. And to make matters worse, all of the objectives were pretty much the same. And this would be excusable if the story was enjoyable. The problem is that I didn't care at all about the story. The bad guy was just a generic bad guy who wanted the random item that makes him powerful, and I mean, that's about it. So putting together a terrible story, incredibly boring objectives, and super similar settings, you end up getting a pretty monotonous experience. As is typical in these games though, once you get to the end game, things start to open up and it gets much more enjoyable because now you're target farming your drops, the kind of loot that you want. You can really start min-maxing your weapons and your builds, and it gets a lot more fun in that regard. But see, if that was the end of it, I probably wouldn't be making this video. It would be one thing if, sure, the story's bland and the zones kind of suck, but no, I think the characters kind of suck too. Some of the characters look cool in this game, but if you take out the female characters, what you're really left with is guy in robes and dude bro military guy, and then dude bro military guy with horns. You can really tell that the female characters got a lot more attention here, and that's fine. I'm not complaining about the female characters, don't get me wrong, but it just feels like specifically the male characters all have this same look to them. I don't know if it's the color palette that they're made with, like all of their armor is just like this military brown or gray, but when you compare them to the female characters, I mean, look at Valby. She's white and teal. You know, Bunny has this like blue going on, but she's got the bunny ears. Freyna is black, and then she's got these neon green aesthetics. Sharon is a literal cyborg. I think as time progresses and we start seeing people with different skins, this won't really be as much of an issue, but I'm basing this off of a current release, so kind of just seeing how people look, everything's very samey when it comes to the characters, especially the male characters. There's also the Void Intercepts with the Colossus boss fights. These are pretty cool, and it's a nice change of pace when you're playing through the campaign or just going out to farm stuff. The problem is, these are all the same as well. They all share either the same or very similar arenas. Their movesets are virtually the same, with a couple changed here and there, and most of them are just reskins of the other for a different element. Now, the reskins and the different mechanics is fine. That's okay. Other games do that too. The problem is the arenas are all the same and the bosses themselves are pretty much the same. During the beta, I actually brought this up in one of my videos. I thought that the Colossus intercepts were going to be the big differentiating factor in what made this game stand out. However, now that the game is out, I don't think that that's really doing its job. I think they're relying a little too much on the sexualization of the characters to sell their game, and I think it's working for now. This is a strategy that I can't see lasting forever. I think eventually people are going to get bored. I'm sure they're making tons of money off of Bunny's boobs, but not everyone is going to stick around forever just because there's hot characters in the game. there has to be a reason for people to stick around. Maybe I'm in the minority, but I myself won't be sticking around if it's just hot character after hot character. I need some substance. I need actual content. Sure, releasing a character is technically content in a game like this, the same way as it is in Warframe, but every time we get a new frame, we also get some story associated with it. Albeit some of the quests are pretty short, only a couple hours long, it's still content. They come along with new activities, new game modes, things like that. Now, before you get on me, I'm fully aware that this is the state of the game at launch. In just the short couple of weeks that this game has been out, the devs have already made massive changes that have improved the grind and have made the game feel better in quite a few ways. They also seem to have this "we won't nerf things, we will buff things" mentality, which I think is great for the game, and I'm excited to see where this game goes on, but I don't think I'll be playing it all that much. I'm still somewhat skeptical because it is a Nexon game and it's free to play, so I'm still a little worried about that, but I actually felt that the price in the shop wasn't too bad compared to other games like Warframe, and I'll give credit where credit is due. This game does things a lot better than the games that it takes from. For example, crafting times are infinitely better than they are in Warframe. I don't have to wait 3.5 days to craft a character or 12 hours to craft a gun. Now, some things are a little worse, like the energy activators and the crystallization stuff, but that's all grindable. That's part of the game. It doesn't seem too bad. And I'm actually pretty fond of the loot treadmill in this game. The reactors are a ton of fun to grind. I've been enjoying that. And it's pretty cool to build craft and kind of come up with stuff. But at the end of the day, what it all boils down to for me is that the game just feels too generic and there isn't enough to make me come back and actually want to play. I'm not motivated to farm characters or guns for the sake of collection or even just to try them once. These are things that I enjoy doing in both Warframe and Destiny, but the monotony of this game's content and endgame just have me questioning myself and asking, what's the point? Why would I farm out a new Descendant? Why would I try to max out my guns? Sure, I can go do the Colossus, and then what? And just as a reminder, this isn't me criticizing any of you for enjoying the game. Like I said, I do somewhat enjoy the game. I just wish it was better. I'm looking forward to the next few months to see where this game goes. The devs are listening. They are taking our feedback into account. This is a game that I will play, just not right now. I'll keep an eye on it, and I'll come back when it looks like there's something worth trying out. With that being said though, drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Let me know how you feel about it down below. And as always, I'll catch you on the next one.